Opening with the king's pawn controls the center and opens up the light-squared bishop and queen, often leading to sharp games. The Sicilian defense controls the d4 square with c-pawn. Knight f3 develops the knight toward the center to prepare for a d4 pawn push, where the knight will recapture if black captures on d4. d6 opens up the light-squared bishop and prevents white from pushing the pawn to e5 after black eventually plays knight f6. d4 offers to trade the d-pawn for the c-pawn, giving up a center pawn for more active pieces. C takes d4 gives black 2 central pawns versus 1 central pawn for white. Knight takes d4 recaptures the pawn and activates the knight in return for having 1 central pawn versus black's 2 central pawns. Knight f6 develops the knight toward the center and attacks the undefended e4 pawn. Knight c3 defends the e4 pawn and starts to develop on the queen side. a6 prepares the queenside pawn advance b7 b5 and also prevents white from playing the bishop or knight to b5. h3 takes control of the g4 square and may prepare the g4 pawn push. The bishop is ready to be developed to an active square. This is not the right idea. This offers an equal trade of pieces. White develops the bishop and attacks the center. This develops the bishop and gives it scope on the long diagonal. This fianchettos the bishop by placing it on a powerful diagonal. Castling kingside tends to be safer than queenside, because the king is further from the center. Castling to the same side of the board is a more cautious approach. A very strong play. One of the best moves. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. After all captures, this is an equal trade. This is an equal trade. Recaptures. A solid choice. This is the strongest option. Developing the bishop and increasing influence in the center. A very strong play. This kicks a queen. This moves the queen to safety. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. With the rook now developed as well, white has all pieces ready for action. After all captures, this is an equal trade. This is an equal trade. This forces the opponent to isolate a pawn. Takes back. This is a fair move. White's piece has moved to a square with greater activity and control. There were worse moves, but also something much better. Right on target. That's not a mistake, but it's not the best move either. This creates a pawn chain. Linked. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. Recaptures. This move puts the knight on a safer square. From this outpost, the rook has great activity. Very precise. After all captures, this is an equal trade. Recaptures. White will be winning a pawn with that fork. This blocks the check from an opposing queen. That pawn was free for the taking. This threatens to win a bishop by adding pressure to a pinned piece. This stops the opponent from being able to win a bishop by adding pressure to a pinned piece. This threatens to play checkmate. This move puts the bishop on a safer square. This mobilizes the knight. This pins a rook to the king. This prevents the opponent from being able to activate a rook by getting it to the 7th rank. This misses an opportunity to move a piece to safety. This is an equal trade. Takes back. This is the only good move. This steps away from the checking rook. This threatens to eventually win material. This activates a rook by getting it to the 7th rank and also restricts the king. One of the best moves. This threatens to force eventual checkmate. This captures a free knight. This is the only move that works. This will lead to a draw by repetition, where the same position repeats 3 times. This protects an underdefended pawn that is under attack. This will lead to a draw by repetition, where the same position repeats 3 times. This evades the check from the queen. This will lead to a draw by repetition, where the same position repeats 3 times. The pawn is now adequately defended. This will lead to a draw by repetition, where the same position repeats 3 times. This steps away from the checking queen. This will lead to a draw by repetition, where the same position repeats 3 times. This protects the attacked pawn. The game ended in a draw by repetition.